Well, welcome everybody. The purpose of this little mini lecture is to prepare you for a successful experience on exam number 2. Exam number 2 has 2 parts, as you can see here on this slide. The multiple choice parts, there are 40 multiple choice questions, and since there were 4 chapters, you can assume it was 10 questions from each. And the chapters that we reviewed were chapters 5 through 8. You will recall at the back of each chapter, there are multiple choice questions in the Let's Review section. I would strongly encourage you to get some practice by trying those questions. And when you do those questions, sort them out first before you look up the answers to them. So experience is that people tend to do better on the take-home part than the multiple choice part. And they're each worth half of your grade. So I would suggest you spend a fair amount of time. Those who did well on the first exam were those who spent some time studying for the multiple choice part as well. So look at the Let's Review section at the end of each chapter. You'll see there's like 5 multiple choice practice questions. Then I've mentioned from the get-go, there are adaptive exercises for each chapter. These are multiple choice questions and will tell you where you're doing with regard to each of the objectives in the chapter. And there's little videos and little things you can use to reference you back to the text where you're confused. And there were also practical multiple choice questions on another part of the Brightspace homepage. So please spend a fair amount of time practicing. Because again, with multiple choice questions, multiple choice covers the full chapter. So not everything showed up in the homework and you're responsible for the full chapter. So, and also multiple choice questions, they're different. You know, when we get to the problems that that are in the take home, those are all, most of them are things we did in the homework, or most of them are things we did in class. So the problems are going to look more familiar than multiple choice. So what I'm really telling you to do is to spend a fair amount of time practicing the multiple choice. And those 3 things, the multiple choice chat questions at the back of each chapter, the adaptive exercise for each chapter, and the practical multiple choice questions for each chapter as well. And as with regard to the problems part of the exam, they are now posted. I actually posted them before I did this video, so you'll find them in the exam section. You will find that these multiple choice questions, these problems are similar to the homework and what we've done in class. And most of them, there's one of them was just something I lectured on. I did remember I made a big deal about estimating the value of the inventory. So I did test you on that. So I don't think we had a homework problem on that, but we definitely went over that in class. And you need to show your work. So for most of these 4 of the 5, they're going to involve calculations and putting together tables, and you're going to have to show your work. I will not just accept answers. I need to show your work. The one where you have to estimate the value of the inventory, you can just fill in the numbers if you fill in the numbers in a template, that's in a sense showing your work. But I need to see your work on these things. Don't just put answers and expect to get full credit. You need to show your work. And then with regard to the problems, the first problem, there are 5 of these things. So you need to do journal entries. So this is a pet shop. The company, be mindful of the fact that they use a perpetual inventory system. And you need to show your complete journal entries for each transaction. And remember, since we're using a perpetual inventory system, if you had a sale of inventory or a purchase of inventory, you need to not only show the sale, you've got to actually show the cost of goods sold related to the sale as well. So you need to do journal entries for problem number 1, and this is from chapter 5. So I'm expecting you to do the journal entries there. So the journal entry, remember, has a debit and has a credit. It's got to be in good form. So remember, some of you screwed up what journal entries are supposed to look like. So if you screwed this up on the first exam, don't screw it up on the second. Each journal entry has a debit, at least one debit and credit, could have more. But show the indentation, show the debit first, followed by the credit, make sure it's in general journal form. So that's the first problem, show your journal entries for a whole series of transactions. And then second problem there is I want you to do the periodic system. I remember one of you came up and you were trying to do perpetual when I asked you to do periodic. So this particular one that I gave you, you get a break here. I want you to do the inventory under the periodic system. And I want you to determine both cost of goods sold and ending inventory for FIFO, LIFO, and weighted average. And this is periodic, which means you don't have to adjust the inventory after each transaction, you can go back and look at your inventory purchases and sales at the end of the year and come up with your cost of goods sold and ending inventory on that basis. But I need to not only see cost of goods sold and ending inventory for FIFO, LIFO, and weighted average, I need to see some type of analysis that you did to arrive at those answers. Okay, so remember here we're using periodic inventory system, and I need to see both cost of goods sold and ending inventory for FIFO, LIFO, and weighted average. So I expect to see parts A, B, and C, and I expect you to not only give me numbers, show the work that gave rise to those numbers. Question number 3, this is the one where you have to estimate the value of the inventory. So what you need to do is, I believe it's under the retail method, you've got to fill in the missing numbers from the chart. And if you fill in the missing numbers from the chart, I will have seen that you've done the work necessary to come up with the value, estimated value of the ending inventory under the retail method. So here you have to complete the template, and by completing the template, you will actually show your work. So the first question was from Chapter 5, the one on cost of goods sold and ending inventory. Question 2 and question 3 are from Chapter 6. And this will come as no great surprise with the amount of the time I spent on Chapter 7. What I want you to do is do the full bank reconciliation. So remember, this is a bank reconciliation. Remember, it has 2 parts. Remember, you get the balance per the bank, you got the balance per the books, and you've got to reconcile those two and come up with the adjusted balance. And if you've done your work correctly, your adjusted balance when you complete the bank record part and the general ledger part have to be the same. So I need to see the full bank reconciliation here prepared in proper form for this company, for the Miller Company. That's number 4. That's from Chapter 7. And then from Chapter 8, I give you a bunch of information, and you need to come up with your estimate of the amount of accounts receivable that's going to be proved to be uncollectible as a result of an aging of a accounts receivable. So an aging of accounts receivable or a rounding of accounts receivable. Remember, there is a relationship with how overdue an account is to the probability that's going to prove to be uncollectible. So I've given you a chart. You've got to fill it out. You need to come up with the estimated uncollectible, the amount that's included in accounts receivable that's uncollectible. That's part A. Part B, you've got to give me the journal entry that to record the bad debts expense under the assumption that the allowance for doubtful account had a credit balance of $9,700. And then part C, you can use the same estimate of uncollectibles that you had up in part A that you used in part B. But here I want you to assume that the allowance for doubtful accounts had a debit balance of $9,700. So remember, the allowance for doubtful accounts before you make the adjusting entry to bring it up to the balance of the amount that you think is going to be uncollectible could have either a debit balance or a credit balance. In part B, it's got a credit balance. In part C, it's got a debit balance. So if your entry is the same for both B and C, then you've screwed something up there. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. I hope you found that little review useful. Remember the 40 multiple choice. Again, I encourage you to look at the Let's Review section, the multiple choice questions at the back of each chapter. Do the adaptive exercise, do the practice multiple choice questions, spend a fair amount of time practicing for multiple choice, because multiple choice, it's not only that it covers everything in the chapter, there's a certain discipline and pedagogy with regard to completing multiple choice. So you want to get as much practice as you can. And then with the problems, please don't wait till the last minute on these things. I'm posting this video on Saturday. I'm posting the exam on Saturday. So there's no reason why you wait till, Thursday or Wednesday. Don't wait till Thursday. Waiting till Wednesday night to start to do these problems. If you do a couple a day, you can get them all banged out so you're not under pressure on Thursday. Okay, so good luck with the exam. I look forward to it. I hope you think you found this review useful. And as you, whatever you do on Tuesday, let's remember the sacrifice of our veterans on Veterans Day. Be well, everybody. Take care. Au revoir. Hasta luego. Adios. Auf Wiedersehen.